Alright. Let's get back to talking. What happened to the train? Finley, how are you? Not up to dick! What a turn of phrase! What a turn of phrase! He's not up to dick! Can you tell me everything you remember from the last time the train was moving? Let's see, I was a few cars back, smothering a parrot with some of the boys in economy. Okay, so on the one hand, I want to believe that smothering a parrot was some sort of old-timey phrase that means something. On the other hand, I cannot for the life of me imagine what the fuck that would be referring to. Smothering the parrot. Okay, whatever. Then I came back here where a car attendant told me to sit tight because we were entering a real long tunnel. Gertrude was powdering hair, giving the attendant a hard time. Not even sure she knew who she was. And you know, Gertrude is drunk because her outbursts of even more butter on bacon. Anyway, so I glanced at Pendleton and mouthed, "Look!" gesturing at Gertrude, but he mistook it for aggression and turned away. I remember feeling the spins and took a seat as we entered the tunnel. Last time this locomotive was warm, I was waking up to Pendleton leaned over me and telling Gertrude that everyone was okay. And what did they say happened in the tunnel? I asked, but they can't remember watching that gap neither. Finley, how many days have you been stuck here for? I've never been one to track the days, nor had a need to differentiate a Tuesday from a Thursday. Not with no money, not with a ton of money. Okay, how about on just to give me something to go off of? Right now, it feels like about a month. That's not right. Bless his heart, that is not right. That is not how long he's been here. Finley, something feels off about this particular situation. Would you agree? I don't disagree. The staff and conductor still ain't back, and Gertrude and Pendleton can take a toll on you. I can also see it being just one of them kind of things. Respectable. But if one of your cabin mates was behind the misfortune, who would you... That hedge creeper, Gertrude. Alright, real quick. And there it is. What do you have on Gertrude for me? Well, everyone knows that she got real hung up on the conductor. What no one knows is, a little ways back in the trip, I seen her sneak into the conductor's cabin and hide. With what intent? Got a bottle of champagne and a gate that suggested she was ready to pounce. Once we arrived at the next stop, I hopped out early and kept watch for her. Right on cue, out she stumbles, wiping tears away and looking all poked up. She poked up how? One way or another, she got stabbed. Means embarrassed. She left the cabin sad, drunk, and embarrassed. Interesting. Some of this is interesting. I knew it. Why do you think she became fixated on this conductor? Easy, he was being celebrated and honored. Of course, of everyone on the train, he was the biggest toad in the puddle. Right, and earlier you said a little way back. Do you recall which state you were stopped in? One with a lot of corn in it. Iowa. Or Nebraska. Something like that. Alright. So, we'll go talk to Gertrude again. Ma'am? Madam? Gertrude, I was hoping to see if we can be of help. Could you lend me your accounting of the events that took place around this train's failure? And who might you two vazy oddballs to have my time? I am a woman who has been photographed. Shh, I'm going to use that line. Who are you to expect my time? I am a man who has been photographed. Twice. At least twice. I am a man who has been photographed at least twice. Well, do relent on your intimidation, dear. Now, if you'll excuse me, I can see you are doing just fine without our help. All right. You're doing great. My apologies. I believe you're just starting with what happened when the train stopped. My, aren't you quite an assertive little cucumber? Very well, then. It was nearing nightfall when I found myself by the window, enjoying the breeze of the passing sky. It was until one of the more plucky car attendants disrupted my peace. He was going on about another prolonged blackout up ahead as if it was something that should arouse my interest. Of course, once Pendleton caught word of an upcoming blackout, he scrambled for a corner of the car to which he could see the exits. I don't have a clear recollection of what Finley was doing. A safe bet is he used the momentary darkness to vent his adolescence. Masturbate, I assume is what she's implying. Once we entered the tunnel, I fell asleep, and now I'm being told the engine is broken down. Thank you, Gertrude. Gertrude, Pendleton and Finley, they have a little too much lead in their pencils, yeah? Excuse me. They're a little thick, no? Mr. Picklesworth, that really isn't any of my business. No, that's not what I meant. Look, we're all mature Victorian-era adults here, but I thought what she thought. Also, that was unfair of you to use lead like that. Lead shouldn't be a metaphor for sperm. Oh god. I meant they are dim, dense, over-egged, What my associate is trying to say is that your friends are intellectually challenged. Ah, why, yes, they are. And if you just agreed to that and then complimented my cheekbones, thank you, you're clearly the smartest. Wonderful, I will take it from here, Oliver. And since you are the only one here who knows what is going on, could you please tell me exactly how long you have been stuck here? I believe 4 days. Thank you. That's not right. Or so. What if I told you that I suspect someone in your car is up to no good? I'd hardly be surprised. In fact, I'd put my derby winnings on that squirmy Pendleton being the culprit. Please, if you could elaborate. I don't know what he's hiding, but I do know he is hiding something. Yes, I will have to agree. I've seen wet cats with more composure than that man. I've seen a wet cat with more composure than that too, right, Winifred? Let's talk about Pendleton. If Pendleton is somehow behind the problems with the strain, what do you suppose his motives would be? That's just it. Out of the three of us, Pendleton is the most eager to get to his destination, or at least to get as far away from his departure as possible. Yes, speaking of which, you and Finley had previously alluded to the fact that Pendleton seems on the run. Yes, he does. I cannot get too much out of him in that regard, other than he is attempting to start over somewhere far away. Do you believe that Finley or yourself could have gotten in the way of that? Hardly. Though perhaps whatever has that man spooked has gotten in all of our way. Alright. Only one left to talk to. Let's float on down this way, my good sir. Float on over here. Floating on down. Pendleton's gone. Pendleton? Why not? Just because I am dead and void of joy does not mean I cannot simulate having fun. Oh my god, yes. So, what you thinking about, big guy? It is oddly easy to imagine a banana taking a human food. Huh. So it is. This was a mistake. Yeah, it was. Problem. Pendleton is fucked off. Where the fuck is Pendleton? Oh, damn. Hello. Why is it every time I attempt to enjoy some fresh air, a flapdoodle like you comes and ruins it? A flapdoodle? I will have you know, if you are going fast enough, water is as hard as concrete. There's fucking Pendleton. Gah! Ah! My leader lost confidence! I can't see anything or anyone! Ah! My word, man, come on. Don't sneak up on me. Do not yell towards me. Oliver? Come on out, buddy. It's okay. Do you think Hope heard me? Yes. Probably. Definitely. Where the fuck is... Okay. Hold up. There's a traveling bag. Oliver! Oliver, I need you to loot this traveling bag! Hey, what do you... What does he think he's doing? Perhaps you should find out. Can't really see what's inside without bending over, so it's probably best I just stuff the whole thing in my pocket. Give it a good stuffing. Stuffing is a weird food. It is. This side is what everything on the plate would taste like if it was fed to you by a bird. Oliver, do me a favor and leave the bag. Fine, but respond to my stuffing thing then. Look. Listen. Birds feeding people is anarchy. Plus, you're the one championing the notion of soggy bread. Be consistent. Never. Okay. Let's talk. What happened to the train? Pendleton, I think you want our help. I never. And we may oblige you, but first I will need to hear a detailed accounting of the last time this train and yourself were mobile. Well, the last memory I have of this pile working, we were climbing a rather steep incline towards an extended tunnel. I recall Gertrude bickering with the service crew while they prepared the car's lighting. And Finley swayed into the room, picked his teeth at me, and then began surveying the room. At this point, with my cabin mates incapacitated, no planned stops for some miles, in the comfort of dark tunnel, well, I allowed myself to drift off to sleep, waking up here, stranded. Now I have to keep moving west, Mr. Picklebender. If you do wish to help, I have a short list of engine parts I require. Suppose I am falling victim to my own curiosity in asking, but alas. What engine parts? Excellent. You see, we had a revelation recently when a rather aberrant man was passing by. He informed us of the 3 parts we need. Removed. Oh? Indeed. I'm told that the sandbox and a few other small parts are removed. The locomotive should be able to limp home. Then those 2 foozlers will see they're fine. What was that? No, I just peed a little. That you're wearing too fine of a hat for such a task, and you should have your friend do it. I allow it for several reasons. Now, unfortunately, I don't carry tools for manual labor around with me. Do you? Let me just check under my suspenders. Right, of course not. Well, after the man left, I had to look at the parts to be removed. It appears all you'll need is a screwdriver. Just a regular flathead. Show me that you have it when you're ready. Pendleton, how long has it been since you have been stuck here? Oh, long enough, Mr. Picklebender. You see, that is the thing. I am well aware by now of how you all feel about how long it has been. Perhaps you could be the first to tell me how long you have been here. In a measurable unit, please. I don't know. Half of a lunation. Half a lunation. Great. Wonderful. And how long is that? 6 years. 14 days. Pendleton, perhaps forgive my imagination, but ever since I met you and your friends, they are most certainly not my friends. Great. Well, since the moment we walked in, there has been a strange feeling in the air. You do not think... No. What is it? Well, is it possible that Finley or Gertrude or even yourself had something to do with these unfortunate circumstances? I assure you I had nothing to do with it. Sometimes trouble does follow me. However, I never cause it. Now that rash bag, Finley. Well, I'm not saying anyone is behind our problem, but it would be him. You said if anyone, it would have been Finley. But do you think it truly could have been Finley? Look, we all got the morbs because of what happened. On top of that, I'm stuck in this air hole, sharing a bunch of bunk with that dying duck in a thunderstorm. I'm not sure. To answer your question, I'm not sure if Finley could have been behind this. There was something for him to gain, sure. He is by no means educated, however, he does have a tricky saucebox. Plus, look at how he was raised. Robins always learn to steal. But for the moment, what his motive could be escapes me, so I must focus on these edited logs. Okay. Okay, second round of questioning is complete. Let me know when you want to catch up. Oh my god, now. Do you think Zoe is thinking about me? Important questions. Wait, do I want that? I'm not sure I pair well with being remembered. About the notes. Also, am I attractive? You are a certain angle good looking. Now can we please with the investigation? Yes, after I do a wee. Okay. Okay. I fake washed my hands. Fake washed hands. It takes almost the same amount of time as really doing it. Alright. Let's talk this out. Alright. I believe you have somewhat of a murder mystery on our hands here. Really? Love when you frame things to keep my attention. There's something in the air. I cannot put my finger on it, obviously, figuratively, but I suspect that someone here is responsible for their untimely death. What's next? Final round of questioning. Here, let us break it down. Everything you collect here tonight should be considered evidence. Speaking of, I believe with the right item we can mine for new information. They are self-indulgent enough to overshare once they start talking. All they need is a talking point. You're a talking point. Look, listen. The point is, by the way, we are not doing this thing, this look thing. The point is, as you collect evidence around here, we should discuss them with each other. I will be looking at the items, trying to find one that can act as a trigger for all three of them. I believe now would be a good time to become a bit more proactive. Look, man, I'm doing notes, I'm holding the thing, I got a bunch of pencil lead on the side of my hand. Actually, no, not you. Us. However, assuming I was attacking you is the appropriate response. Cool. So what exactly do you mean then? We have arrived at the point where any new information for the occupants is going to become scarce. However, we have a basic understanding of the individuals and their social structure. So using that information, let us push some of their buttons and see what they have to say. Well, maybe watch. So as you could go out removing those engine parts for Pendleton too. The old, while you're here, plunge the toilet move. What a dick. You're here. When you're ready to do it, just signal at me with the flathead. If Pendleton is in the vicinity at that moment, I will not completely ignore you. So much to look forward to. Still playing Mad Libs with your half of these conversations, so please, what did they say? What's the verdict? What happened to the train? Each has a recollection of events that was similar enough to the others. Unfortunately, their stories all come to abrupt halt as soon as the train passes through the portal and into the tunnel. Okay, wait. Portal is merely the entrance point of your average tunnel. But maybe I knew I shouldn't have used the proper terminology. See, because most portals are science portals. So theoretically, we could, anyway, it would seem like something happened to them when they entered the blackout. Do you have a clear idea now of how long they think they've been here? Each was off by about 2 weeks from the previous, with 1 month being the longest guess. This one might be a dead end, because honestly, I could not press them on it. Why not? I am afraid I do not stand on ground in which to base judgments. Look, I would be unable to tell you if I spoke with any one of them for 2 minutes or 6 hours. Well, did it feel like 6 hours? It always feels like 6 hours. Regardless, this was more an attempt to catch an inconsistency from one of them, to which it died a no one was even looking death. Well, I didn't know most of that. Did everyone have fun playing Point the Finger? Indeed, messy as always. Do tell. Well, Gertrude suspects Pendleton with somewhat sound reason. Pendleton seems to have a completely one-sided and in-his-own-head rivalry with Finley, or perhaps just a fear of him, but that is who he suspects. So it's more an emotional thing than a logical one. If we add to Pendleton's reasoning some of what Gertrude had to say about Finley, then there is a decent case against the one who grew up a thief. Which brings us to Finley, who complicates things further in pointing to Gertrude. He did so reluctantly. However, it reminded me not to undermine her either. She enjoys a lofty position in the hierarchy, and rather than grateful, she seems rather cruel. But to what end? Oh, hi, Weenie. I'm not sure yet. Hi, do you want to sit on Papa? Is that what we're doing now? Yeah, we're going to sit on Papa. I have a kitty cat sitting on me. She's being a good girl. No, I know, I was just... Never mind. Just noticed the evening practices. You should revisit these evidence items. You need further assistance in discussing your information. Alright. Got a broken chain with like a golden nut on it. I saw that. Yeah, so what? So there's a verbal hot potato that I threw at you, and now it's your turn to do words about the chain nut thing. Well, it is indeed a broken chain with a brass acorn attached to it, to which I am not sure what else to say. It is rather odd, especially given where we found it. Oh yeah, didn't you say ghosts can't open refrigerators? Yes, which means whoever put it in there did so while alive. Or if a floater put it in there, then the fridge door was ajar to begin with. Pretty sure it wasn't open. That it was open to begin with. Do you have any thoughts about our new status symbol / pin? For starters, your left nipple was not bleeding before we found it. I wanted to go complimentary. Well, where it was stashed, it could very well be innocent. However, we cannot ignore any suspicions. The brooch was in close proximity where Finley favors. He's said to be somewhat of a thief. Yeah, I think we figured out the brooch was stolen from Gertrude. True, plus you said Gertrude was missing jewelry. You think it was hidden behind the map? Perhaps. If so, it would have been done carefully. That map is in no condition to come into contact with our moisture. Gross. Let's keep quiet about the pin for now. See what else we learn meanwhile. Fool. Well, that hardly seems fair. I give you what I find. Nothing. That's what. Alright. Let's go back then. We got some stuff to work with. Purple monkey dishwasher. I enjoy dish nonsense. Alright, we got some stuff to work with here. Got some stuff to work with. Right, Winifred?